Now at 10, a historic Reddings Mill building will go up for auction. We'll have details.
In the demolition of a Webb City landmark, I'm Fernanda Silva with this story.
Plus, a Hickory County, Missouri deputy arrested and charged for rape and sodomy. We're going to break down the court documents.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. A Webb City landmark will be demolished this week to make room for a new Popeyes restaurant. Built in 1908, the iconic house on South Madison Street once belonged to the then Mayor George Washington Moore. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has details.
Kids of the last owner of the mansion on South Madison Street, Lene and Brent wanted to keep one last memory of the house where they grew up in. A piece of Lene's room wallpaper.
I keep coming over here torturing myself, stalking the demolition guys and just trying to soak up. Yeah, it's tough.
Connie Sweet, Lene and Brent's mom, lived in the house for more than half a century. When her husband died 11 years ago, paying the bills got harder. Then she decided to sell it.
I know she tried so hard to sell it, and it didn't sell, which was sad because it's a beautiful home.
Our family, more than anyone, was hoping it was someone that could restore it and that it would still be here.
Last year, Popeyes bought it to build its new location. Then, Connie moved to Arkansas. Last week, the demolition process started.
I sat out here when they started it the other morning. I brought my lawn chair out and watched, and it's just was an emotional thing.
The pool was the first part of the house to be broken into pieces. Now they're working on the garages, and once that is done, then the house will be demolished.
Yes, it was a very, very well-built house. We're going to use an excavator and some dump trucks and a skid steer.
According to the city of Webb City, the house is not on any list of historic registers. Brent moved to the house when he was 5 years old. Even though he's sad about seeing it go, he understands it's for the best.
It's sad, but it's just the cost of keeping it up has just gotten so out of hand. As you can see, the house has gotten, so far that you just can't bring it back to life.
Now Connie and her kids keep a good relationship with the new owners of the property.
The 2 guys with Popeyes are awesome, and that's made the whole transition much easier. I mean, they've just been great to deal with and very good and patient with my mom.
Living in the house across the street for 45 years, Penn has seen the landscape on South Madison Street change.
I can remember when they started doing the redoing Madison Street. My daughter, who was raised here, thought it was so sad because she always thought Madison Street was the prettiest street in Webb City.
The mansion's neighbor, Christina, bought her house only 2 years ago. She shared her concerns about living next to a fast food restaurant.
It just worries me about, my grandkids playing here and stuff like that, and the noise is going to be extra loud. Like, we have little ones, and we have pets.
In Webb City, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Now, to honor the history of the house, the new Popeyes location is going to have a historical wall incorporating columns of the house and displaying pictures of it. Popeyes construction is scheduled to start by August 1st, and that restaurant should be up and running 4 months later. Another historic building, the Reddings Mill Bar and Grill, goes to the auction block tomorrow. The property in Reddings Mill, Missouri, has a rich history dating back to the 1800s as a home, then resort, then restaurant. The auction includes several pieces of furniture and appliances, as well as the building. The business says the auction is going to begin before 10 tomorrow morning at the Newton County Courthouse in Neosho. No chickens being auctioned here, but maybe you'd be interested in raising some chickens. Yeah, the Girard Public Library today hosted a presentation on backyard chickens. An expert with the K-State Research and Extension Office delivered that presentation. It covered caring for chickens, their housing needs and design, and the basics of incubating eggs.
If you're wanting chickens for egg production, you don't want to skimp on the quality of feed. So get a feed that is formulated for the growth stage of that chicken, because then it will have the protein content and all the nutrients the chickens need.
Next Monday, the Girard Public Library will host a paint night event. It's been hot for chickens or any other critters for that matter. Let's check in with meteorologist Sam Lane.
That's right. You can almost fry a chicken outside with temperatures approaching 100 degrees later on this week. But right now, things are looking pretty nice. Calm across the 4 states. Storm watch out to the west, and that's because of a complex of storms developing out there. But we're not expecting any storms tonight really in our area. Temperatures dropping through the 70s to around 68 degrees by tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow's UV index is going to be pretty high. In fact, very high on the scale, up to about 10, which means about 15 to 20 minutes before you start to burn. So make sure that you are taking plenty of precautions out there, and make sure that the dogs outside are watered as well, and be sure to check on the elderly. As we head down the lane, we're going to have some isolated thunderstorms in the area, but they're going to be very few and far between. The big story is going to be the hot Wednesday coming up, and then an unsettled pattern shaping up after that, which may provide some drought relief, and I'll tell you more about that in just a little while.
See you soon. Authorities have recovered the body of a child tonight in an Oklahoma lake. Another child is still missing. Divers are searching Lake Overholser near Oklahoma City. They believe the 2 children floated downstream. Police rescued 2 other people. The 2 rescued said the children are 10 and 11 years old. The manhunt is over for a suspect wanted for attempted murder in southeast Kansas. Authorities captured 61-year-old Charles Amos late last night in Oklahoma City. The Cherokee County, Kansas sheriff says earlier yesterday Amos was driving a stolen van when he ran out of gas in Cherokee County, then tried to siphon gas out of a farm truck. Sheriff says when the truck's owner and family confronted Amos, he fired 2 rounds from a shotgun at one of them, then fled in a pickup owned by one of the family members. Law officers from Kansas and from Oklahoma and from the U.S. Marshal's Office worked together in a day-long manhunt, ending with the arrest just before midnight last night. Charges against Amos include attempted murder and aggravated robbery. A Hickory County, Missouri deputy is now charged with multiple counts of rape and sodomy in Webster County. Reporter Marina Silva shows us the court records.
This man, Keith Bridges, was indicted by a grand jury in May for 2 counts of rape and 1 count of sodomy in Webster County. He's a deputy in Hickory County. The sheriff there would not do an interview about the case, but says Bridges is on unpaid leave until the case is finished. According to court documents, a woman who we are not identifying says she was on a trip with Bridges a few years ago, the first time it happened. She says she woke up to Bridges pulling her hair before he assaulted her. The woman says the second and third times was while she was staying with Bridges and his wife in 2021. She says Bridges' wife was at work when it happened. The woman says she was afraid to say anything because she, quote, has seen his rage, end quote. But in January, she told Bridges' wife, and his wife is the one who called 911. Detectives interviewed them both in January, and Bridges' wife said, quote, he is a scary man when he gets angry.
According to court documents, Bridges' wife also filed for divorce last year. He's due back in court on that case on August 7th. A suspected intoxicated driver is charged after a 2-car crash last night near Sarcoxie, Missouri, injured 9 people, including 3 children. A med-flight helicopter landed on the highway to assist with the injuries. Authorities say 62-year-old James Hake of Springfield was driving a car west on I-44 near mile marker 30 when he hit an SUV from behind. That SUV went off the road, hit an electronic sign, went down an embankment, and overturned. All 8 passengers in that SUV suffered minor injuries. The helicopter transported Hake with serious injuries. Authorities arrested Hake on 3 charges, including felony DWI. Coming up, a Chiefs superfan is behind bars after he had been a fugitive for 4 months. Plus, a manhunt's underway for a homicide suspect who escaped from a Pennsylvania jail last week. Authorities have arrested a Chiefs superfan who'd been on the run, accused in a string of bank robberies. 28-year-old Xavier Babadar, also known as Chiefsaholic, is charged in federal court for bank theft and transporting stolen property across state lines. He'd been a fugitive for the past 4 months, and now authorities have arrested him in Lincoln, California. The U.S. Attorney's Office suspects him of being involved in a series of bank robberies all across the Midwest and laundering stolen proceeds through casinos. Violent crime in Kansas dropped last year compared to previous years. That's according to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation's 2022 Kansas Crime Index report. The report says violent crime decreased by 4.3% in 2022 compared to 2021. However, despite that decrease, the number of violent crimes in 2022 remained 9.2% higher than the 10-year average. It's not yet returned to pre-pandemic levels. A manhunt is underway for a 34-year-old homicide suspect who escaped from a northwestern Pennsylvania jail late Thursday night. Authorities are warning that he's likely armed and dangerous and might be receiving some kind of assistance. Reporter Naomi Ruckham has the latest on the search.
Authorities searching for an inmate who escaped from a Pennsylvania jail using tied bed sheets say they believe he is still in the area.
Regardless of where Burham may try to run, he will be pursued by the full force of law enforcement.
Investigators did not rule out the possibility that 34-year-old Michael Burham crossed state lines sometime after his Thursday night jail breakout. Burham was being held on arson and burglary charges, allegedly involved in the kidnapping of an elderly couple and suspected of killing a woman in western New York. The desperate search by local, multi-state, and federal authorities includes canine units, drones, and aircraft.
But I am convinced that the approach that we are taking will be successful. There is no doubt in my mind we will capture him.
Small stockpiles or campsites were found in wooded areas, some possibly connected to Burham, authorities say.
Definitely people are nervous, upset.
I believe at some point we will force him to make a mistake, and when he does, we will use that to our advantage.
Police warn that Burham, a survivalist with military training, is considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
U.S. Marshals and Warren County, Pennsylvania Crime Stoppers have offered more than $9,000 in reward money for information leading to Burham's capture. President Biden kicked off his 5-day trip to Europe with a meeting in the UK, calling the U.S.-UK relationship rock solid as he talked with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. It's the 6th time those leaders have met. The two talked about climate issues, including how to encourage companies to boost clean energy efforts. That trip was little more than a layover on his way to Lithuania, where NATO partners are meeting for their annual summit. Ukraine is seeking full membership in the military alliance and has broad support from most of NATO's member countries. President Biden has said the war between Russia and Ukraine needs to end before Ukraine is ready for membership in NATO. A little later, the Mink League is back in action tonight with a matchup between the Nevada Griffins and the Joplin Outlaws. We're going to have the highlights.
And we're tracking some showers and thunderstorm chances as well as the heat coming back. I'll tell you all the details when we come back. Well, the last few mornings we've had pretty comfortable temperatures across the area with lows in the 50s, which is kind of unusual this time of year, including Seneca, Missouri, where this morning they started out with mostly fair skies, and then this afternoon sun came out and clouds started developing, some cumulus clouds this afternoon, and then once the sun went down, those clouds started to dissipate, and we were left with mostly fair skies and a beautiful sunset across the area. Let's take a look at the low. It was 59 degrees in Joplin this morning, which was only 2 degrees away from the record. These are the kind of records we like setting in the summertime. But of course, we're still behind on the rainfall. That's kind of getting close to a record too, with almost 10 inches behind so far this year. We do have storms on the radar, but they're way out to the west. In central and western Kansas, southern Nebraska, severe thunderstorm warnings going on there. This is moving to the south and east, but most of that is going to just barely nick us. In the western sections, they might see a few showers in the morning and also down in northeastern Oklahoma, but most of the area tonight will remain dry. Temperatures right now are pretty comfortable, generally in the 70s, 74 in Stockton, also in Monette, 79 in Miami, 80 right now in Welch, but 81, the warm spot, in Anderson. But look at the dew points. They are very comfortable in the 60s, lower 60s up to the north, but then you start getting close to 70. In fact, it is 70 in Nowata. So that means the muggy air is not that far away. And then tomorrow, when you add the temperatures to it, we're expecting heat indexes to be well over 100 degrees once again tomorrow. And then as we go into Wednesday, look at this, over 110. 109 in Joplin, around 111, close to that in many places in western sections of our area in southeastern Kansas well over 110. So Wednesday is going to be an alert day due to the heat and the humidity. Rain chances are going to remain low, picking up a little bit tomorrow, but they're going to be isolated storms. And that's because we're in the northwest flow pattern, which means most of the storm activity will be in the overnight hours and in the early morning. As these waves of energy roll by, we'll see chances of showers and thunderstorms in our forecast. The good news is some places could pick up quite a bit of rainfall. In fact, the European model is forecasting higher amounts up towards the north, and the GFS model is also forecasting pretty heavy rainfall amounts. This would be great if it would verify with rainfall needed desperately across our area. We don't need the severe weather, and that is unfortunately a risk that we're going to have to take on Wednesday, especially the northern sections. The biggest threat being large hail and high winds because of the high Cape values. There's just lots of energy for those storms to work with. Temperatures tonight are going to be pretty comfortable in the 60s and 70s with isolated showers possible, mainly on the Oklahoma side. Then tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the low to mid 90s. Best chance of storms will be off to the east. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, quite mild in the morning with lows in the mid 70s. And then the storm chances start developing late Wednesday night into Thursday after we see temperatures close to 100 on Wednesday afternoon. And then that system will pass by and we'll be left with lows in the 70s on Thursday morning. Over the next 7 days, we have several chances of storms. We just have to get through the really nasty hot weather on Wednesday with that alert day in effect, and then cooler as we head towards the next weekend. But again, we keep the storm chances going with highs near 90 and lows near 70.
I hate to be greedy, but gosh, we love to get the rain. We don't really want severe weather.
I know,
with
we
it.
do. It's like you can't take one without the other.
It's one extreme or the other. Thanks, Sam. John Dales joins us now. Busy day for baseball, even though we are at the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's right. No MLB games today, but day 2 of the draft continues with rounds 3 through 10. And the Outlaws just finished their All-Star break. I got the highlights of their first game back on the other side. Seven months ago, Cordell Tinch was out of the sport of track completely and selling cell phones for a living. Fast forward ahead to current day, he's a multiple-time NCAA champion at Pitt State, set a collegiate record a couple of weeks ago, and just competed in the U.S. National Championships this past weekend. Late last night, Tinch continued his redemption story by finishing second in the 110-meter hurdle finals, just missing on first place by 3/100ths of a second. However, still plenty good enough to qualify for the U.S. national team in the upcoming Track and Field World Championships held in Hungary next month. Immediately after finishing that race, Tinch was asked what was going through his mind. He explained he really couldn't put it into words. "I've dreamed about it forever. I get to wear Team USA," is what he said. We'll keep you updated on the Pitt State alums' progress through the whole summer. The Outlaws just wrapped up their All-Star break and begin the second half of the regular season with a week-and-a-half-long homestand tonight, kicking things off by hosting Nevada. In that game, starting out in the bottom of the fourth, Outlaws actually trailing at home, runner on first. Chopper to third, looks like it could be a double play. Nevada only gets one. Joplin manager Chris Dawson saying, hey, the second baseman got pulled off the base. He wanted both runners safe. Not to worry, though. Cole Hill says, Coach, I got you covered. A couple batters later, smashes one to left field. That gets over the outfielder's head, drops down, bounces off the fence, and brings home 2 Outlaws. That was part of a 5-run fourth inning to put them in front 5-1. Now on the mound, Caden Bressler, really solid tonight. Gets the strikeout in the 5th. He'd go 7, only allow 2 runs, and pick up the win. In the 5th inning, more traffic on the base paths. 6-1 Outlaws lead when Corey Siracusa steals second. Ball gets away, so he says, all right, I'll take third as well. Next batter, Ethan Kruger, hits one over the center fielder's head. That's going to cause all sorts of trouble. Gets down. Outlaws win big. Final score, 9-2. And in professional baseball, no games happening right now because of the All-Star break. Still plenty of news because we're in the middle of the MLB draft. Things got started yesterday with the first 2 rounds. Today's action just wrapped up with rounds 3 through 10, all taking place this afternoon into this evening. Here's who the Royals took in rounds 3 through 8. A couple names that stand out. One that might even sound familiar. Spencer Nivens selected with the 142nd overall pick. He's a Missouri State alum, also played in the Mink League with Sedalia a few years ago. Hero Wyatt just finished high school in Connecticut, committed to go to USC, but now he's got to pick between Kansas City after he had the 75th overall pick and picks between going to college and starting his career with the Royals. Cardinals also very busy today. Here's who they took in those same rounds. Travis Honeyman from BC, one of the steals of the third round. He was thought of as one of the best guys not to get taken in the first day. St. Louis grabs him with the 90th overall pick. Zach Levinson, another ACC guy from Miami. Cards take him a few rounds later. And Quinn Matthews, pitcher to remember, stayed in school at Stanford after getting picked last year. But bringing things back to Pitt State, Cordell Tinch, it really is, I know we've talked about it a lot, unbelievable story that he wasn't an athlete anymore a few months ago, comes to Pitt State, turns it around, now he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah, he's had a lot of fans locally for a while now, and now that fan base may be growing across the nation. We'll be right back. Some rain, a possibility. The heat, pretty much a certainty, though.
That's exactly right. 100% chance of heat on Wednesday. Then we start introducing storm chances, and then a little bit cooler as we head towards the weekend with storm chances continuing. So hopefully we'll get some rain in here.
Final sports note.
Great time of year to get out and see the Outlaws. Game 1 of their homestand tonight. If you didn't get a chance to go, though, you have the entire next week and a half to go see them, and they're also playing their best baseball of the year right now.
Very good. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with some video of a volcano erupting today near Iceland's capital. Don't forget the morning show starts at 5 a.m. and let's make it a great tomorrow.